Okay. Good night, everyone. Welcome to Fatherhood Talks, your your fatherhood um think tank. Um,
You got lost in thought?
no. You can't listen. You guys, what you don't realize is that what happens is every time I start the show, I have to remember to go back and put it on mute because as soon as I start, then I start hearing myself talking double talk on the live chat room. But anyway, it gets me every time because I'm like, oh man, something is happening. Now I'm talking to myself. But anyway, welcome again. This is the technology when you don't have, these people have these big shows with producers or whatever. We just got us dads who here to talk and do what we here to do every week. Tonight we are having a very, I would say, peculiar conversation. Our topic tonight is bisexuals. And I know that's a play on words because it's BUY sexual, not BI sexual. But we're going to see how that plays out for us in our conversation tonight. If you would look at the what I have kind of put down as the poster for tonight's show, it says, "I'm a bisexual. You buy me something, I get sexual." I don't know if that's going to be completely of our conversation, what our conversation will kind of be about tonight, but I think we'll get into it. I think we'll be able to pull some of the key things of what we know is important for fatherhood out of that. So as always, I'm Ron Osborne Williams, and let's introduce the rest of the fathers.
Gene Robert Menard, father of two young adults, one male, one female.
Johnny Gaspard, father of two young adults, one who just turned 24 today, and another one that's 20. Two young adults still causing my pocket problems, but I'm grateful.
Which one turned 24?
My daughter. Yeah.
Nice.
She on her way to South Africa.
Man.
Bruh.
Nice.
God is good.
All the time.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, Larry Jordan, father of two, grandfather of one. I got one adult out of my house, trying to get the other one out.
Yeah, what do you mean, Larry? You got one adult out the house trying to get the other?
Well, I got two grown kids. One of them out, and one of them I can't get out with a neutron bomb.
Well, is that your daughter?
That's my daughter.
She don't got no reason to leave because she a flight attendant. She gonna stay in the house as long as possible. Why would she get another place? She always in the front of the car.
Yeah, you don't be walking into my house any time of the day and the night. That'd be scaring me. You might pull out my pistol.
Right, I know what you trying to do, Rod. You call it trouble, you trying to call it trouble.
No trouble. Just know, Jack, that listen, she a flight attendant, and so you can be sure she's not trying to make any move because in the rationale of this generation that she's in, why would she go and get her own place when she's not over there? She could just keep all the stuff at y'all at mom and dad house and just come and go as she please and enjoy life.
Well, you say maybe she's bisexual. My bad. Let me stop.
I knew this topic was going to be interesting. Go ahead, Larry.
All right.
Go ahead, Rohan.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Rohan Roddock. I'm a father of two young teenagers, Amaris and Annalise. Again, it's a pleasure to be amongst such leaders, and thank you for having me with you guys.
This guy's so modest. This guy like he a president. Oh, I'm such a peasant that come and you guys let me come on here.
All right. There's a lot of wisdom here, Ron. A lot of wisdom.
I got you.
Good evening, Donald Jones, father of 2 teens, male and a female, divorced and father of 2. And I'm just glad to be here tonight again.
Good to see your face, Donald. Hopefully you got the picture up. Good to see your face.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I'll try tonight. I'm trying.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. This damn daylight saving time is throwing me off. So, my name is Lionel Lightborn. I am the father to a tribe of 7, 4 young men, 3 young women, 1 granddaughter, and it's always a pleasure to be here, especially for this particular time.
Loving the hat, Lionel, loving the hat.
Is anybody else? We got everybody? I see Castro there. Maybe he stepped away, not ready yet. And see, we got Jay down there in the bottom. Justin.
They say Lionel with that hat, man. Hey, now, well, you from Miami? Say you look like you ready to go down to the Foxy Lady. You know what a Foxy Lady is, right?
Oh my
But
God.
you know I know where it's at. That's the first one I ever went to.
Let me see. Now see, we get a topic, we get a certain topic, then guys just start getting all out the pocket. This man bringing up the Foxy Lady, and people saying, what's the Foxy Lady? I know people at home, if you don't know South Florida, if you don't know, find their establishments to enjoy late night
Entertainment.
Where you can go get a good piece of steak.
Yeah, well, you don't know anything about the Foxy Lady. I remember when I first came to South Florida, and a good friend of mine said, hey, we're gonna go out to this place, man. And I said, Foxy Lady. He said, gonna be some ladies up in there, man. I said, oh boy, let me put on my best outfit. I sure want to meet me a nice lady. But then I realized I could have just put on a pair of sweatpants and a tank top. But that's a whole nother story. But that gets us into our topic for the night, since everybody. The topic, and again, as I tell you, people say, hey, where you get these topics from? Look, the father throw them into the pot, and we put them up on the wall. Tonight is BUY, sexual. And I know it's a play on some words and what have you, but I think that one of the great aspects is, and I've been thinking about it as I was typing and putting things together, that this can talk and can speak about a lot of different things. But I want to throw it out first to all fathers, just for them to be able to think, give their impression of, what does this represent when you see this? What do you think about? How do you feel about it? And, if you had to define it and make a definition of it, what would that definition be?
Well,
I'm gonna go off with the most simplest one. I think everyone can relate to this when you talk about taking a girl out, and depending on what she orders, determines what's gonna happen that night. If she's gonna order some seafood, most expensive thing on the menu, you're buying it, and so I think when you look at this topic, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw the topic. I was like, man, those times when when you talk about, she ordered the most expensive thing, man, I must be getting some. So
you're making a deposit, actually, a deposit.
That's terrible, Rohan. Especially coming from you. You're such an innocent young man.
Well, his expectations don't match the seafood.
Oh, you really going there tonight, aren't you, Rohan? Your mind is completely in the gutter now. But for me, I think if we're going to talk about this topic of bisexual, BUI sexual, we have to ask ourselves, what's the oldest profession in the world? You Google it, it's going to tell you right up, the oldest profession in the world is prostitution. And so if the oldest profession in the world is prostitution, and prostitution came about when men perverted their purpose. your purpose was to provide for your wife and your family. But a perverted purpose actually is what gave birth to prostitution, which is where this particular topic actually derived from. And so I think money only makes sense for men, and only really matters to men mostly for sexual reasons. Put it like this: you take out the sexual reasons, or just the need to have that intimacy with women, money will never matter to a man, because a man typically or even naturally couldn't care so much about the things that money can buy as women do, but we care more about what the woman think about us and what the woman and the fact that she will have us because of the type of money that we make. And so with that, I think all of us, if not, yeah, all of us at any time, be it I guess whatever gender, well, particularly for men, we're buying it one way or another, and we're buying it for different reasons. You understand? So I think in one aspect, it can be seen as provisions, right? And another aspect we use it as for prostitution means. And so people are like, prostitution means I don't buy. I'm like, you do buy it. I don't care how you swing it, you buy it, which is really an oxymoron. Swing it, buy it, but. But you for some strand, that's the only reason for the most part that men need money. Those two reasons, one in the negative, one in the positive. For the positive, provisions, in the negative, prostitution. Unfortunately, we are the connoisseurs of. So that's just my take on it, and bringing statistics and the history of.
Well, like one, just a little bit piggyback. I think that when it comes to this, and you start talking about, I think coming forward to this day and age, I think women have decided to put a price on themselves, and it is that. So you have changed the way the man is going to view how he's going to use his money towards you. Because if I meet a woman and all she cares about is how much money I make, then I know she's just with me for my money. So my money is going to be exchanged for sex. But if I meet a woman who doesn't really care about what I'm making, but wants to get to know the real me, then in a sense, she's buying my time and I'm buying her time, and it's a mutual exchange. And so when it leads up to that point where we commit to each other, and it's a different type of buying. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a different exchange in what we're talking about. So I think with all this, with OnlyFans pages and all this other stuff that they started doing, women have and prior to that, women have decided that, look, my looks are going to get me what I want without me having to work hard. And so they start to price themselves that way.
Well, I don't think women price themselves. I think men price. Remember, I think James Brown said it best. This is a man world, but it would not be nothing without a woman or a girl. And so it is a man's world. I think we, contrary to popular belief, we do set the standards and the rules because we have that particular privilege being a male and being in a male-dominated world. But being that as it may, think about all the women that we emotionally exploited and tried to probably gave they all to us, and we still, and truthfully, if we could have milked that relationship without spending it down, we would have. It's not until a woman put a demand on it. So a woman is not wrong to actually put a demand on what a man was actually placed here for. You understand? And I think for the most part, we lose our purpose because we think that a woman has to work. You understand? But we really supposed to be the providers and the protectors of women. And if we're going to say that, we can't make no monetary comparison about them to us, because we have actually, and our lack of actually providing and protecting them has actually made them evolve over the last 100 years, which make them one of the major breadwinners in society. And so I'm not mad about that, but I should understand it as a man. And so I got to understand the history of me, be it in the pro and the con, and a lot of my contributions to that. And so that's why I have to really be honest on both sides to know my role in this particular conversation.
I'd like to spend some time, if you guys don't mind.
Go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
What Brother Liborn just said, I think just kind of hits home for me personally, especially my current positioning, right? professional businessman, thriving business, going through a bankruptcy, right? And understanding the pitfalls of being a guarantor on a business. At the end of the day, somebody needs to be on the hook. You feel me? And when you talk about your financial positioning equals to your ability to be a father, that should not have one to do with the other.
Right.
Somehow they're circled together and they're interlooped because it is tied to protection, safety, and security. Mm-hmm. Your ability to earn is like your ability to have broad shoulders. You're going to protect. You know, say women pick men that they could be protected by, right? Tall, dark, and handsome. You're a protector. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about the physical status and then also the ability to pay, I think men, we, you know, for me personally, I wasn't paying for no puss. You know, it just, I got game. I could talk out of that. You know, and a man is stingy with his cash, but also where a man puts his money and his effort and his focus is what matters to him. So when a man starts breaking bread, and for me, that was the demarcation for my wife. When I realized that, okay, I care about her and I'm willing to spend my own money to take her and to treat her and to do that, then that means, and for me, I had switched. I had made that switch, right? As I remember the first time I came home from the frat house, 3 a.m, drunk, ready to, and she was sleeping. And I was like, you know what? Her rest is more meaningful to me, bust my, you know what I'm saying? That's when it's like, oh, I'm changing. I'm evolving. I'm in a different stage of my life. How do I reassess what I'm used to doing? Because if you're still operating how you used to, and that's where you're at, then now you got conflict. So I say all that because how do we maneuver through these things as we're growing and evolving? And still certain circles where they you know, you're paying to leave.
And I was just about to jump on that topic right there, Castro. For some men, buying it's less stressful.
Correct.
Whatever it is that they do for a living, they would rather pay for you to leave than pay for you to stay. So as a result, for them, it's a, as Gene shared, it's a mutual transaction. And benefits both parties. One, the women get what they want, which is the finances. The man get what he wants, which is the intimacy for that moment. And he ends it there. There is no emotional tie. There is no mental connection. We just share our bodies in that moment. I pay my fee and I go about my business. You leave me alone, I leave you alone. It's weird, but sadly, in this time of, even when Gene mentioned the whole OnlyFans thing, Gene, most the people who are paying these ridiculous monthly or subscription are generally us.
Yeah.
So we, again, as Lionel said, set the standard. If we didn't pay the price, they couldn't charge the price. It's like anything else, the market dictates what we're going to pay for it. And sadly, the majority of purchasers in that particular market are men. So this aspect and mindset of buying sex, as Lionel so eloquently said, has been the oldest profession. How we change, and as Castro eloquently also said, how we change and grow will tell us whether or not in that moment, whether that our money is about the relationship or just about what it is we're trying to get out of that. And I think that's how we get to the point where we say, okay, I'm willing to put this money towards helping this lady to grow her, grow us. It's not a problem for me. I'm not considering, oh, she just about my money. So therefore I'm changing. Now, whether or not that's a benefit to you depends on who she is. And you're taking the time to get to know her and learn who she is. Because there are some women who will take advantage of a man who has changed. You know what I'm saying?
I have a question on that, Johnny.
Go ahead.
So when my wife, and I think this is, I don't want to say culturally or how we were raised or just my life experience, right? I was raised the Mickey Mouse love fairy tale. I almost wanted to be the Captain Save-A-Ho. I wanted to go and so the damsel in distress so I could save her. And when I realized that dichotomy of thinking set me up for a failure in my finances, right? And I'm saying this in the sense of you got prenup agreements.
Yeah.
You also got post-nuts, right? How you manage your money. Like, I was in debt 50 grand, 90 grand student loan. I married her. Now we're in debt together, 150 grand, right?
Yeah.
And it's, well, are you sharing your money because you have to, because that's the institution of marriage, share every, like, or do you handle certain bills? And I realized the people around me, I didn't have a model. My parents didn't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, I talked to my uncle was like, I pay certain bills, wife pays certain bills. I pay the heavier bills. I pay the mortgage, the cars, and the insurance. She handles the little stuff, right? And everybody's house is different. And I realized that without a blueprint or being willing to open and learn something, how do you really operate? Because then when shit gets crazy, you're going through a bankruptcy or you're dealing with some financial issues that even if you made $1 million in business, how is your family infrastructure managed and set up to deal with that, right? Because it's not what you make, it's what you keep. You know what I'm saying? So just from a money management side that also kind of keeps you greedy, like, I ain't spending no money on this, she ain't coming up off no, you know what I'm saying? Like, why? Now I gotta go tie my money with her and then pay this, it's cheaper to keep her. Like, I don't think we're given the tools to be able to manage this kind of things as young men, right? We're super hypersexualized. It's about the box. How do we get that? And then if we end up getting pregnant, I hope she takes this plan B or or we go a different route, right? Or now we end up in fatherhood talks, because that's how we ended up as being dads.
With some drama.
It's a wide spectrum of, I don't know. I'm looking to solve the problem because I realized how I averted it, but I could have been there.
No,
Well,
like
let me-
Ron said, this topic is going to take us in a bunch of places. I mean,
Because I'm about to take us out of this conversation and take us
Okay.
to, because what I noticed is that the first thing we did as men is begin to assert our privilege of being money, having money, and then utilizing the idea that we are the one purchasing women for our sexual for sex. I mean, obviously it's for sex,
Right.
But realizing that that sex is not the most satisfying sex
Correct.
because we pay for it. And also that sex is not what I would call the equality sex, because both people are doing it as pro. It doesn't have to do with, and I think you said this, Castro, you said the Mickey Mouse or the fairy tale, but the fairy tale is real in reference to our real emotions and having a real having a very satisfactory sexual relationship with a partner. When they can be sure, yeah, you can buy all you want to buy, but the reality of it is nothing in the world better than a person that you know who wants you, because they want you as a person, no matter how you are and what you like, and that you want them for who you are. When those two people come together sexually, it is they usually have babies, but it is a powerful human effect that occurs there. So I want, as I bring that into the mix, I want us to also look at the other end of this. What about the woman part of it? What we've kind of said this, but why would women have to feel like they have to put themselves in a place to be an object that had to be bought?
Okay, I'm gonna respond to that real quick. Okay, you have to look at culture. Some cultures, daughters are told to look good. You can get a man. That's one. Two, you gotta also look at it too, where I always say birds of a feather flock together, and those mindsets are alive as we speak. And with those mindsets, where I can get that type of guy by dressing this kind of way, that kind of hairstyle, you'll find out many women today, and even in the past, they target men. They don't target education. And as I call many women Miss Moore, I don't know you guys know what I mean. Miss Moore means she always want more. The plate is never full. It's always empty. So there are many different scenarios that play into the woman part, in terms of, I would say, in terms of buying and sexuality being used to exchange, You know, I go to certain strip clubs and I see, I look at the cars they drive, I look at the behaviors, I see them, they have Airbnb, they're in one room. Look at how they operate. And not all of them. Go ahead.
But that what I was like. Hold on. Let me just say something. Let me just say something to this, John. I think this is why I'm bringing up to giving some pushback, because the idea of this is to say that, you know, there's a large majority of women who would never put themselves in a predicament to be in that. I mean, we see that, and the reason we know that is because look at the number of women have become so modern in the society we live in today, and they're saying, I'm not going to depend on nobody, and I'm not going to put myself in a position where I have to sell my body to do it. I'm going to use my God-given talent that doesn't include my sexuality, and make something and become and do things. And so it does have a major twist that we're seeing in the society today, because, you know, I heard a comment today and said, ladies said there's more women that are doing it on their own, getting to this high level, and they're looking for men that are better, that's going to be and be better and provide for them. And that is almost becoming a failure, because they're not, many of the men are not, if they are, they're going to be maybe equal to them, or they're not going to be at that level, because, you know, there's a different industry, a different way that men operate things, and the importance. Like you have a man who thinks education is not important at all, because in many instances as men, it's not. The number one fields for men to work in have nothing to do with no goddamn education. It has to do what you can do with your body, and how can you produce. And if you know, because that's the old way that, you know, you think of olden days of a woman picking a man, it was a man who was going to be able to produce, not money, but be able to produce a home, a property, and a land to protect and raise a family on. He might not have never had any money, but he knew how to go in the fields and provide for his family based on that. He wasn't riding in that coupe Bentley. He just had one.
That's what I wanted to say, Ron, to answer your first question as to why some women would feel that way. I think historically this country is based on that. What the forming of this country, this world, sadly, even biblically, if you want to go back there, the woman was always considered some level of property. She didn't necessarily have a say. You would have a daughter be the firstborn, and she's not even going to inherit the money. She got to go get a guy so that the father, when he does, can give it to this man, because she's not entitled to it. Some crazy. So this is historically, unfortunately, why women would use their bodies to capture, to entice a man, because this is how they were able to survive and live comfortably. You find the right man, he's able to take care of you. You look at where he may come from, who is, they ask her, who his parents, where he come from, what his stock he's from, because they're not going to invest their time and their bodies with someone who may not be able to take care of them, as we've all looked at. So historically, this country and this world that we live in has always seen the woman in that way. I think now, as you said, modernly, especially in the U.S., you have, and amongst people of color, you have women having more position with education and finances, because unfortunately, a lot of the men in those communities are either dead or locked up. And because we have the aspect of interracial marriages and dating, when you do find a man who may be financially on your level, he's either one, already married, two, unfortunately playing with the other team, or three, he's married to someone outside of his race. So you have all of those things playing a role with women in reference to them being by themselves and or just choosing to, because you have some women who are financially now, they're choosing to do the same thing men did. They don't want to have to deal with the headache. They just want a man that's going to come with the term sneaky link. They'll pay for the sneaky link to get rid of you, because they're in a position financially that unless you are that man, they're not going to invest their time either.
Go ahead, Lana. I want us to listen to what we're saying, because I see big clouds forming around my head as we have this conversation. It is very doomful to me, and in the hope that I have an expectancy of relationships and how we establish our families. If we, I think it's very clear, if we continue to head down that path with this mindset, we will not be able to reconnect men and women to have family, because it's looking more as like almost like the Brave New World. If you ever read that that novel, The Brave New World, where it's only nobody get married, everything's is just get your rocks off. Everybody has class and status, and you stay in your class and your status, and you can't deal with people in different classes and status. The only people really living life is the people in the savage lands who are not even a part of the alpha, beta, gammas, and what you have. And so I think of that, and I think of we have to begin to really think as fathers. We got to do some deep diving to really influence our children to some things that's important. And it's not being back into the way of this equality there where the man runs the house or run this, but back almost into a point where there's this collaborative expression of family, and that you see that, you know, you be with a person that you want to be with. You don't let the finances of this world affect your love, because you can make it. There's plenty of couples I know out here who don't have any finances, and they have a beautiful family, they have a beautiful life, and they're making it. And you know what continues to be that problem? The social construct that pangs on their door every day, trying to make them fit into the world. And they're look at this Birkin bag that I got. Your man ain't getting you no Birkin bag. We can't afford it. We trying to afford the $1,500 rent for our 2-bedroom apartment for us and our 2 kids. We don't care about
it. I'm like, where that rent at? It's out in Miami-Dade County, it ain't.
I'm trying to be reasonable.
Bro, too.
But you know what? I was sitting here thinking about that. And something came to my mind. My mom I was blessed to have like 2 fathers. My real dad, my biological dad, Lionel Sr., and then my stepdad, Henry Milton Rowe. And my mom paid him the biggest honor, because my mom was an entertainer in the Bahamas. She's a really big entertainer in the Bahamas. And they interviewed her because they was doing all these tributes to all the entertainers who had came to the Bahamas, and I did a big interview with her on the radio. And she paid tribute to my stepdad. She said that my stepdad gave her, he said that my stepdad gave her everything a poor man can give. And I'm like, wow, my mom was never that poetic. Right? But when she told the truth about who my stepdad was, how he changed her life, and what that meant to her and what she meant to him, then it brought me back to the point that I'm getting ready to state, which is back to your point, Ron, when you state out that when we talk about buying different things, you can buy attention, but you can never buy affection.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the disconnect. And so I think about Will Smith, unfortunately, and I love both of him and Jada. But what Will Smith is going to have to come to grips with is, yes, you bought her attention, and you're still buying her attention, right? This explains the slap. So you still buying her attention, you're still going for this. And here it is, you've been married to this woman more than 20 years, and you still, right, buying her attention and paying for her attention and her approval, right? But it's the problem with Will that he's not used to losing, because he is a high achiever, and I give him that. But he's not used to, and particularly it's a hard place for a man to be in, to say, you know what, it's a possibility that I may not be able to satisfy this woman. Right. That's the hard part. That's for any man. And so for me, I think about that. I said, man, I don't think I should be with a woman that I can't satisfy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's never going to be satisfying to me. And so go ahead.
You hitting it right up. Listen, you hit exactly where I'm going with this, because you can buy all you want, but will she have an orgasm when you guys have sex?
Correct.
Women's orgasms is based on how they really feel about the person that they're encounter and having sex with. So if they're not having those types of feelings and emotions, that means that you're not providing any of the things. You know, you ever heard a woman say, well, do something to make me wet? And they don't just mean sexually, they mean intellectually, protection-wise, all of these things that sometimes we miscalculate as, if I'm Joe Cool, I got the bread, that's going to make them some way. It doesn't, because at the end of the day, money is materialistic.
Correct.
We human beings don't need money. We need affection. We need intimacy. We need emotion. We need love. We need attachment. These things you can't buy. These are things that someone has to really give you, and you have to really feel them. And if you can't provide that, and I think when you said that line about your stepdad gave your mom stuff that she needed. Correct. So forget it. If the guy can come up with $1 million and say, hey, I want you come, the undecent proposal. Hey, come and sleep with me for $1 million for the night. They'd be like, nah, you know what? It ain't even gonna be worth it, because I don't ever got to sleep with this man and I feel good. And that's where we have to get.
I don't want people to think now. I think because we don't want to confuse this and make this think that this is a poor woman issue, right?
What? No. I'm not saying that.
No, but that's the stereotype of it. Right. In the word. There's a poor woman issue. I'm like, no, it's not a poor woman issue. And I could point to so many exhibits of so many examples rather of I think the latest example is Deborah Lee. And Deborah Lee said she had to, and it's the thing about it, because women are at the power to negotiate. And I'm not gonna lie to you, because we condition them to do so. They know how to negotiate their sexual prowess. You understand? Or their sexual opportunities. And so with Deborah Lee, it was a negotiation because Bob Johnson was the owner of BET. And she worked for Bob Johnson. And so she negotiated with Bob Johnson because Bob Johnson and she had a very quiet sexual relationship with Bob Johnson until this week. You understand? And she admitted it. And so I'm like, no, this is this is universal for women. Women are just very discreet with their sexual negotiations, which makes them very wise. So, and so don't think for 1 minute that, because you got money, a woman is saying, listen, what I charge you everything for is some man around the corner or some man on this earth, I give it to him for nothing.
For nothing.
And I think that's what brews our egos most. You understand? So I've been on, thank God I've been on one side of that more than the other, but I have experienced the side for a woman that didn't have her affection, and she would have chose the man who was doing less, because again, we wouldn't affectionately link, and that relationship didn't last long either. And so I can't say I was always the player, but most of the time I was.
So pain, I like that. Pain pursues pleasure, because her pain could be loneliness. Her pain could be, as he said, affection, and some men, or vice versa, provide the pleasure, and someone's in the pain. And that's where I have friends with that vehicle, the Mercedes some SUV, and that guy, they have 8 houses in California, they have all that stuff, and they're still paying. They're still paying in that relationship. So I totally agree with you, like Lionel. It's not necessarily the money which needs to be managed correctly. It is personality and pain versus pleasure.
It boils down to a business deal, right? From what everyone's saying. When you're going in it as a business deal, it's going to be exchanged for money for goods. That's it, money for goods. But when you're going in an emotional state, money's out the window. It's then what can I get from you that, like Ron was saying, that I can't buy? You've got to give me something that I can't buy in order for me to put stake in you to stay. And it goes that, and that's on both sides, men and women, because when as a man, you're gonna give it up freely to someone that you're really into, right? Because you're going to no ends to protect that, to give up, to say, hey, you know what, you need help with this, I got you. You know, I'm the one for you. Same as a woman. A woman will be there for the support because she feels you're giving it, and not monetarily, you're giving her that emotional stability and those safety, those Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Absolutely. Are being met. Say it, Robert. We can remind them that this is important parts of this whole, that Maslow.
Yeah. And so once you meet that, That's it. That's what's going to get that woman attracted to you without you having to even spend $1, because they're going to feel that emotional and that connection there. And so, like I was saying before, you'd have two different types. You have emotional needs, or you just have a business deal.
I don't even
Right about that.
I believe,
LJ, you sitting in the corner, you married man, you better say something, OG.
And it's about setting the tone of the relationship. That's what it's about. Setting the tone on all levels, just to make sure you got equal parts. Everybody's putting in 100% on both sides. So just like we were speaking about earlier, yes, it is the oldest profession, and everybody made some great points. Can't take nothing from nobody. But when it comes to, as Castro said, with the culture, when it comes to, as Lionel said, setting the tone, even with what Robert said, it's about that deal that you make with each other. Is it going to be business, or is it going to be emotional, where you can meet each other's emotional needs as y'all come together to build an empire? And just to make my own point about everything that we said, this is why polygamy is getting so popular right now, because we as men are greedy. No matter how we got to handle it, where we're going to dish it out or take it in, but we're greedy. We want what we want. We're willing to pay for it. But if we can have it on both sides, we'll take it. And don't care what it costs. We'll go broke for it.
I have a question on that one shot, one. And the reason, and I'm pushing back on that because you said each other's emotional needs, right? I recently joined a codependency anonymous group, and I realized that as a codependent person, my codependency needs on my wife or other relationships has a lower value for my personal needs, right? So polygamy makes sense because you're valuing your needs first before an external, right? Now, how you interchange all of that's the different game. I say all that because I think us worrying about ourselves first, putting our mask on first, and then being able to say, hey, this is who I am. This is how I'm showing up. Take me or leave me, love me as is. And that way I don't have to play the games. I don't have to do all of this. We're here. And it's difficult to try to build that in a marriage when that's not it's kind of like if you weren't grounded by God and God didn't bring you into the marriage, how are you going to use that as a grounding force? It's very difficult, right? So just from a perspective, how do you build when you weren't built that way in a sense, right?
Absolutely. Castro, I love that you said that, because it takes me closer to where I want the way the conversation I think should go, where it starts to be able for us to look into the mirror, because we get away by the power structure that we've been put in and the privilege we've been put on to act as if the same prostitution that we expect women to be, that we're not being the same thing in a society. We are the same prostitute that we're going to get many times. Because we haven't dealt with the things you just talked about. To be at a place, as Gene said earlier, at the highest level of Maslow's self-actualization, where you can be cool with you and be able to provide for other people outside of not thinking of yourself or needing anything from it. Most of the time, we're not at that. But because our system is set up where we can attain and we have an advantage through our privilege, then we take advantage of that and we get into relationships with no skills other than that this person may need or want to have to be with someone to be provided. And so you see this unbalance sometimes that we have not really put ourselves into. And so it has to go. And I have this thing that I share is, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be able to have to look in the mirror and see who your worst enemy is, who's the person that's causing you most of the problem. And that picture is ourselves. And I think, and many times, once we're able to do that and evaluate what we have done, we're moving to steps to being able to be in better relationships with the women that we want to be. But sometimes it's like a bad apple. We don't like to say it, but once the bad apples start congregating together, the whole bunch is ruined. So you might go and get yourself together and get some pesticide to make you strong and resistant from the disease. But once you go back into the pool, All them jokers is tainted. So you got to try to find some apples that ain't even ripe yet. And
Yeah, I just wanted to, I wanted to
burning.
speak on
Keep
that.
burning.
This is real quick. You know, I think that it depends, and if we reel it back, of the relationship that women versus men have with money. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Men relationship with money is always associated with power. The more dollars I have, the more power and influence that I have. And that's the way we look. That's why I can purchase a woman, because I'm visual anyway. I can purchase it and do what I want to do and be through with it. Women, on the other hand, have a relationship. They have a love relationship with the money itself, not even necessarily with you, with the money. That's why a woman can go and the reason that she has that relationship is because she's competing with other women, whereas men, we don't compete with other men when it comes to dollars. We do it in a casual way. How much money you got versus how much money I think I get. But women have to show their money with other women. And so what they do is that they're in that competition type of stage. So if they see someone, if they hear one of their girlfriends say, "Girl, I sure love that man. I would love to have him." Guess what? She can go out and get him. She's going to try to get him because she's in competition. What she wants, I want to get, so I can show her I can get it and you can't. You know, and because of the relationship, they have the ability, like you say, to be bisexual if it involves power or something that they think other women might want. They'll just do it so that they can go and tell their girlfriends, "I got it and you didn't."
I like that concept because my wife, not my wife, well, my wife and my sister came to visit last week, and she brought a friend, and we were sitting on the couch, and she was talking about, because they're professional women, and so they was talking about Kevin Samuels. So they despise Kevin Samuels. So I'm listening. I'm a man, so I'm like, let me hear what he said, and then let me give you what I think he's saying from a man's perspective. And she was saying, okay, if a woman is at that stage, she's that's the word, high value. If so, she's a high value woman, then why shouldn't she want a high value man? Like high value men expect to have high value women. I said, well, the reason being is because the commodities are different. They were like, what? I'm like, those are two totally different commodities. Absolutely. A high value man don't want, talking about, I said, do you see them go out there looking for professional women? Let's look at that. I said, hey, half of them women that they get, the most, if not most, half to all the women that they get don't have half of the accomplishments you have. Mm-hmm. You understand? I say, so the commodities are different. For a high value man, looks are very important. But for a high value woman, luxuries are very important. Absolutely. And so here you are talking about you want a man with luxury. I'm like, that man ain't looking for no, I'm like, the man with luxury is not looking for luxuries. He's looking for looks. And it's very important because that's why he have to have eye candy on his arm. You don't see him showing up to unless it's his wife, but other than that, you don't see him showing up to the awards and all these high valued events with average looking women. And so it goes, I'm like, men, we pride ourselves. And unfortunately, we're conditioned to pride ourselves on looks. That's the commodity of a woman for us. But the commodity for a woman, for a high value woman, for a man, really, she's saying, oh, this and that, I want a high value man, and this and that. I'm like, no, you just simply want a man. You understand? Now, because he's high value, this is add to it. But that's not really what you're asking for. Exactly. And so you're trying to compete, and and most of the part, you're trying to validate your success. And so you're using that to actually push. You understand? Like makeup. And that's just what it is. You're making up because that's not what you're really trying to say. And so you're putting on the fake perspective, like eyeshadows and wigs and all that stuff, to not really convey what you're trying to say. You're just trying to say that, number one, without my success, I'm not being seen. Without my success, I'm not being appreciated. And guess what? Now I'm successful and I'm still not being seen and appreciated.
Because that's not.
Lionel, you missed the part. Hold on. You missed a very important part.
The coalition.
You missed a very important part on that, because I don't disagree with what you're saying. but you got to understand a high value man does not care about your money, period, because he's got money. And that the thing about and what you said that I totally agree with is a woman who has money who makes six figures wants a man who makes six figures plus to top her. And they're never looking. And I don't feel, in my opinion, that when you start doing that as your basis of you got to make a certain amount because I make this much, you stop looking for emotional relationships.
Absolutely.
Because now you're looking for that monetary relationship. You're looking for that business deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it completely takes away and from the guys that you're looking at, because the guys that you're looking at with all that money, 100% want a woman that looks good. They want a woman they can have on their arm. They want the eye. That's what it is. And I think one of the things that, and because, someone said, I had the same conversation about Kevin Samuels with somebody. So I started listening to him. And one of the things he says is, stop looking for these guys that are making all this money and just go with the guy who is average that you can love. And not a lot of women pick up on that. They think that's an insult.
Intellectualism, it reconditioned them. I mean, intellectualism breeds entitlement, right? And so when you're intellectualism, then you enjoy all these intellectual clubs and this and that, and you got all that strong power and power. Sisterhood, sister, you ain't got to take this and you ain't got to take that. I'm like, don't worry about it. You ain't gonna have nothing in a minute. You understand? Because you talk about what you don't have to take, you understand? But don't realize you may not have that much to give in the first damn place. And I'm saying what it is now, but what I would say, you understand? You got to understand that first of all, you got to understand your supply and your demand. Because I'm like, man, truthfully, I'm gonna be straight up with you. A man don't care about your career. Most of the women that we deal with, I'm talking about even the most brokest guy got women that make more money than him. We're used to that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Just in case you never heard it. Most men, I'm talking about the average thug, deal with women that have six figures. Blue collar worker deal with women that have six. Most the guys that I'm like, my wife make more than me. That ain't nothing to me. I'm like, I'm always used to women that make more than me. Because at the end of the day, I'm like, my income don't validate me. My outlook do. Now my income, don't never get that twisted. Don't challenge my vision. You understand? Do you want to really go there? I'm like, listen, my vision is the most important thing to me. It's gonna bring us money. You understand? But don't put the money I have over my vision, because matter of fact, you're not gonna be no good to nobody, right? If you can't add more to their vision than you just do to their money.
Hey, Lionel, I'm glad you listen. I love it that you took it right where I wanted to go, because it is proven facts. The average man who is in a high value marriage and relationship normally cheats and steps out on his wife with a lady who is 10 times less than the woman that he's with. You know why? Because that woman depends on him and believes in the things that he does. Now, that sounds pretty childish. I think that the people say, well, I gotta believe in what he do. Why can't? Because that's a part of the if you want a man to provide and do all this, for him to provide and do it, you gotta believe in him. You gotta believe in what he do. There is a strange there. If you believe in him, listen, James Evans struggled and hustled every time that he went to work and did whatever he did. But Florida Evans believed that James was gonna make it and make it work. That's why their marriage lasted in the projects. Even with if he got laid off, it wasn't, I'm so tired of this nigga getting laid. She didn't say that. What she said to herself is, James is a man, he knows his responsibilities. I'm here to support him and what his responsibilities is. And I remember the episode, if you remember this episode, James was going for a job interview. It was about to be the fallingest job he was gonna ever get in the office. Florida went with him, and they wanted to hire Florida to do the job. And they was going to just, and it's a perfect example of what we got going on in our society today, so check it. But Florida realized at some point, not that she got to take that job, that she would be better to continue to ride with James, struggling and believing in him that he can do it, because guess what? Men need that. You have this idea that men got everything together. they need someone to believe in their dream. They need someone to believe in their manifest destiny. And if no one is believing in it, this is when they become grown kids. No responsibility, nothing that they do, nothing they doing has any value. It doesn't bring anything to anybody's life. Everything they do is just for fun and games, not to support anybody and bring any empowerment or anything to anybody's life. It's fun and games. But if they know that people are counting on them, believe that's responsibility for them, accountability, they will live up to that expectation. But a lot of times you can't live up to expectation if the chick tell you she got everything. She don't need you for nothing. She don't even need, she got a role, so she don't even need you for the other thing. So then what you doing here? What am I really, what can I even do, or what can I do for you? Especially now, since now let's get to this. We done messed around and had this child. And then the undermining of all of that. I had somebody tell me today, they was taking their son to swimming lessons, right? They wanted their son to learn how to swim. The son went home to his mom, I don't want to swim. I don't want to do it. The mom told the dad, well, he don't want to swim no more. And he told me, he was so mad. He said, well, if not, well, you're gonna cash out me my money for the swimming lessons back, because she got it. She just the reason cash out my money back for the swimming lessons. I'm gonna waste, because I paid up for 4 months. But I said to him, would she allow him to say, Mom, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do work in school. I don't want to do your stuff. Would she be okay with that? And we agreed that she wouldn't be. So I said that this is a point where she doesn't value anything you got to say as a man, and the things that you know that is important. Because then I said, well, why you want him to learn how to swim? He said, because when I was when I went into the Marines, I didn't know how to swim. And that meant that determined the job that I could get when I got in the Marines. So here is a man learning a man experience that a father wanted to pass to his son and to his child based on the experience that he encountered. And he wants his son to be able to know how to swim. He lives in Florida, surrounded by water, ravines and everywhere some water. So he needed to learn how to swim. Mom said, the boy say you don't want to learn how to swim. Mom say, okay, you don't got to learn how to swim, baby. Forget that. And dad looking like, what do I do? And these are the kind of things that automatically, now I know why, that's why they divorced. Because if this is the operation of how this person operates, there's no way that you're going to empower, no way you're going to be empowered by a man when you don't empower him.
And let me add to that, Ron. In a relationship or marriage, or these are the questions that need to be asked and need to be understood. Because I had a similar thing during my divorce. I tried to get my daughters to go to learn how to swim, and Mom just brushed it aside. I said to her, people in Manimode were drowning, people in Coral Springs were drowning, from kids were trying to save the other kid. And I could never get her to understand the importance of swimming, because we live in Florida. I mean, one guy, he drove in a car, killed his girlfriend, killed himself. I don't know. There's no answer to all the questions. But all I can say is this: you gotta communicate. You're right. These are some important milestones along the journey, and we should focus on the children. I hope everyone hears that. Focus on the child. Sometimes we come with this power and control, and it just messes up a lot of things.
Since y'all talking about water, it just brings me back to one theory that addresses this topic. I think the theory says it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion in the ocean. I just had to throw that in there. That's just because it was right there. But I'm open for whatever perspective you understand that you guys, because there's a lot of different perspective and aspects we can talk from, not to berate the women, because again, everything is going to fall back on our shoulders. You understand? Being the heads in society, be it spiritually, financially, economically, sociologically, that's just what it is. And so everything falls back to us, but we have to understand the science of us first, right? And then we got to understand that if we can cause chaos, we can also bring about cure. Because we saying like, oh, like we didn't cause all this. I'm like, no, if everything comes back to us, that means that we caused this. And so we caused it, we can fix it. And so I think nobody really at the end of the day wants to do the work because the most dangerous things, and I usually do this with young men when I talk to young men. Sometimes older men are set in their ways, but for young men, if I could give them a proactive outlook on the sexual, what they call it, contraceptive. And I like to call it, it's a contraceptive, but I'm like, no, it covers the other head. The one that covers this head here. Right. And I'm like, because what you don't see, we teach you so much how to cover the anatomy head that we don't tell you the long-term results and the long-term effect of sexual addictions. Matter of fact, we don't even talk about sexual addictions. That brings about so many, I want to put it, so much, it can bring about criminal behavior. I'm gonna say it for what it is. And so when you talk about those sexual addictions, I mean, I don't think we even cracked the surface on it. I don't even think they began to have a science on what that is, the sexual addictions of men or the effects of sexual addictions. And with those sexual addictions, I'm talking about you can find yourself in a rape situation, you can find yourself as a pedophile, you can find yourself as a serial killer. And to that point, I think some of the science we got from a serial killer, I think it might have been Ted Bundy, or I'm not sure, was it Ted Bundy or the other guy out of Baltimore or Milwaukee? But Dahmer, yeah. Dahmer said, they asked him, Dahmer, what you think was the cause or the foundation, the root cause of your you becoming a serial killer? You know what he said? Pornography.
Yeah.
Pornography. And so with that, where's the sexual addiction for most kids? I'm talking about as early as elementary now, the sexual addiction, even for us, because I remember walking home when we used to walk home from school, and you'll see somebody stuff got put out the house, and you'll find the little nudie books on the trash pile.
What kind of books, Lionel?
The little nudie books.
Nudie books.
Porn books.
I remember
and
those.
You find them, and naturally so, as a boy, especially if you walk up with a bunch of boys, if it's just all the boys, we gonna pick that book up and we gonna study that thing harder than the mathematics homework we got. And so,
but true.
So when our introduction to it started way before that sexual education class we got in school, and that's the part I tell them about. I'm like, listen, it happens. What they call it hits different for different people. It depends on your character makeup and the support you may have. You can have the greatest support, but if your potential, what they call your personality makeup is to, and you see some of the best guys in the most structured homes, your boy Dahmer being one from a structured family, right? And that sexual addiction turned him into a serial killer. It may turn you into a pedophile. It may turn you into a rapist, or it may just turn you to a person that rides up and down the street at night. Just can't you get until you get it out your system. And so there are some sexual addictions and dangers that can be very, in some cases, deadly or fatal to the young man if you continue to cultivate it. But most guys, it's just a very long lifetime porn addiction that you use to just, I guess, to ease the urge for it turning into something else. But that's something that you rarely hear us talk about publicly, but I'm just going to take a stab.
Yeah, well, and you know what, that urge becomes it becomes, as we know now, as a lot of research has shown us about what happens with people who have porn addiction, how it alters their sexual relationship anyway. Now they can't even get aroused with a natural woman because the woman is not the porn woman, you know. So and they expect these things to happen because they again, the more you watch something, the more you believe it's your reality. It becomes your reality. So the lady comes, you arrive to the lady's house delivering a pizza, and she said, "Oh, hold on 1 second, let me get change." And you believe that she's saying, "Come in," and you just heard her say, "Come in and change me." And the lady didn't say that. But in your reality, because you on your way driving the pizza to a house, you was watching the porn that's telling you these messages, and it's going into, it's like a sickness. And I said it, and I've said this to many people. If you're going to watch the porn, find the porn that is suitable for you and your mate to watch together. You know, I'm gonna send a shout out to what's the name of that? There's a site out there where they have really good natural black touch or black thought, something like that. But it is not traditional porn, and it's also a lot more relational. Like there's people who have conversations about It's not like, yeah, you want some of this? It's a lot more realistic to the kind of relationship we would have and how it can jumpstart our own intimacy with our own partner. You know, and that's a big part, because you can be isolated in this porn world, man. And like you said, you'll become, listen, if you can't afford it, right, then you just take it.
Sadly.
You can't afford
it. He brought, I saw an article with an officer recently, and you know, he was fired. I was reading the article about how he, as an officer, he has certain powers or certain responsibilities, and he went into the situation. In the end, he lost his job. A well-known officer, he had a lot of accolades to his name, and I said to myself, wow, boy, you just gotta be very careful out there, and that's all I have to say. You gotta be very careful.
See, he's so bad, he didn't even want to buy it. He just want to take it because he a police.
Absolutely.
So he just want to take it. He didn't want to buy it.
He's not the only one. I mean, because it's you look at the young lady, the police officer, young lady who was actually
correct.
And then I don't even want to talk about the statistics of people who actually watch porn on the job.
Gotcha.
You know, and I'm talking about literally. I'm talking about, and you would think like, oh, these must be some low-level people. I'm like, no, these are some very professional people. Particularly, the more professional and isolated they are, the more likely they are to watch porn on the job.
Sadly,
I think I may have even caught one or two people, but I'm very discreet. I just act like I don't see it because it's kind of shocking. I'm a man, and I'm like, on the job play, you just couldn't went to your car.
Well, coming back. Go ahead. No, I'll say coming back to our topic.
No, but I'm talking about when we talk about bisexual.
Bisexual, yeah, correct.
That's what it is. But you understand, these are the outcomes.
Correct.
And the consequences and the ramifications of bisexual. It's not, because remember, we're talking about bisexual, so it's the more the negotiation, right? Correct. It's the negotiation that you may have been unconsciously, right, trained. Your parents might even raise you to the best of their ability and right to say, hey, do the right thing, make as much money as you can, and you can control your narrative, or use these words, you can do anything you want to do. You understand? That's what I'm saying. They didn't mean it in a bad way.
I hear that.
Because the thing about it is they don't know your wants.
And
that's the thing. So even good advice in the wrong mind can turn into bad outcomes.
Amen to that. That's the key
part. That's a nugget right there.
Yeah.
That's,
good advice.
I wanted to throw something in there if I could when Lionel was saying, brother Lightborn was saying that we have to make sure. We step back for a minute, right? Just thinking about how we have to perform at every stage of life that we're at, right? We have a 9-to-5, a business, certain social groups, certain constructs of where we gotta go, right? That we live from day to day, right? As a single man, as a married man, there's still sexual tension all the time, right? There's always, I think my wife now, we've been together 10 years, but I remember like the first 4 years of our marriage and like together, I was like, yo, any male homie that you have, he's waiting to hit. Like, I don't have female friends. I have a female friend I ain't hit yet. and that was the concept of how I maintained our relationship. Because the box is what I'm going after. There's nothing else of value. And I recently realized the power of not being pussy deprived, right? Because now you're thinking on a different capacity, because there's other things that this woman has value. And then she realizes she's worth more than just her looks and her appearance. And then she shows up different for you, right? And it's like, it's this great feminine masculine balance where we're letting go of all the bullshit that we've been told we have to pay attention to. And now we're just getting to the nitty gritty of how do we really connect, solve some problems, and leave and create something beautiful, right? And it doesn't even have to be sexual. It's just a co-work environment, right? But now we took the sexual tension off and out. And I think that our inability to know how to manage that properly is you get caught in the porn, bro. I remember in college, I stopped playing video games because I remember getting in my car after playing Grand Theft Auto. I was trying to ride a motorcycle. I was literally trying to run behind a truck so I could launch my motorcycle because I was in the game so much. You almost lose sight of reality.
Okay.
Right? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, I had to check myself. I'm like, why am I driving my truck like this? Like, whoa, nah, bro. You've been driving Grand Theft Auto for 4 days. You forgot what it looks like in the real world, right? So when you're used to dealing with women that are going to play the game in this video porno world, you don't know how to talk to a regular woman. Do you know how to get a woman to smile at you because you gave her a compliment about her nails? Do you know even how to do that? Do you have the capacity to say that?
The small talk. And to add to that, Castro, the porn, I watched a video with retired porn stars. And if you hear how they talk, it's like a regular job to them. They would get apparently a producer would call, hey, I have a shooting going on in Pompano, come on over. And look at that. It's a regular job that pays his or her bills. Listen to this, right? And guess what? People are looking at that scenario and say, guess what? This is sex. They're just looking at that and say, this is sex with two people who probably don't even know know each other names. They probably got some fake names. They're doing it just as a regular job. And as you said it perfectly just now, we sometimes take that porn and turn it into reality when it's really not reality. It's really fantasy if you think about it.
Well, it should be fantasy anyway, but I think and as Lionel A. Castro said, the fantasy part of it disappears when we have been so overwhelmed and overcome by allowing what we've seen, and they tell you the eyes are the, what is the
window to the world,
the window to your soul, right?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And when
gateway to the soul.
Window to the soul. And when you're watching something consistently daily, you're allowing it in, it becomes part of who you think you are. And this is how it should be. And it comes back to that point where, okay, then you say, if it's not like this, I can either buy it or I can take it. Because now in the real world, I'm hitting over what I think should be game to get me the jaws. I should show up with the pizza and she say, and she said, you want to get changed? I'm supposed to have that. And she telling me when I come in, she tell me, okay, have a good day. And I'm like, what? So now I either have one or two mindset. Either I'm going to try to take that or I'm going to go somewhere else to pay for it. Right. And I think that's where we end up where we are as men. But the part as far as fathers, because now I'm raising a daughter, right?
Absolutely. There we go. Now we go. Here we go. Take it down. Now we can go down this road. There we go.
So how do I teach her to understand her value and to realize that it's not about just how the way she looks, but also how she thinks and how to have a man approach her, see her, talk to her, all of those things. So it's so funny how when we were younger as men, we would do the thing, we would try to spit game to so many people's daughter and hope that we accomplish this. Now you got a daughter, you're like, man, oh Lord, let me teach you these games so you don't get caught up like that chick that I, spit game to at one point. But one thing I've learned in this world that we're in, as fathers, it doesn't matter how much we teach them, our children ultimately, like anybody else, sometimes have to learn on their own. You want them to avoid all the pitfalls you went in or the ones you created. But the goal is sometimes they have to get burnt themselves. And the thing that they're going to learn from that experience, however, is that, okay, I remember what my dad said. My dad did tell me about this. My mama did say this to me. And I think as men, when we're raising daughters, the goal is about teaching them their value, because the world, unfortunately, treats them oftentimes as an object, as property. But they have to learn what their value is. And then us as fathers who are raising boys, we also have to teach them how to be better men so they don't look at women as just objects, but more so, or if you want to say on the same level as you, and you learn how to love on them. But we have to teach that. And that's because now we're being exposed with each other. We're learning from each other. we're coming into these groups and learning more about how to be better men, how to be better fathers. So we in turn could take what Castro shared with me and what Lightburn shared with me and share it with my son. So make sure he could make some better choices. Because it might have been something I didn't think about before I got into this meeting tonight. So again, you know, that's the goal from these meetings is to become better men and better fathers, and ultimately, you know, help our community become better. So again, I just want to thank y'all. Ron, we got 5 minutes left. That's my wrap-up statement.
Johnny,
but I'm gonna leave that alone.
Johnny, bro, that was spot on. And I think what brings it home for me is knowing that was our mind process, right? And I was waking up every morning to see whose daughter, who am I snagging, right? And the wild, you know what? There's a TV show that just came out. It's called Unprisoned, with Kerry Washington and Del Rindolet. He just got out of jail. She's a therapist. They're beautiful show. And I've seen about 3 episodes. Me and my wife started the other day. And it's a beautiful viewpoint of father-daughter dynamics, because he's putting her on game and she's like, nah. And I'm not listening, because you weren't around in my life and I'm mad at you, versus what he's got to say is actually some real legit game, right. And he's putting her on. But she ain't receiving it like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's I suggest everyone, it's a beautiful show, Unprisoned, but it's exactly what we're talking about, right? It's we experienced it. We're telling you from first person because this is what we've done. This is our nature. This is our makeup. I wake up every morning with right. You know what I'm saying? Now, how do I teach and impart this wisdom on you, daughter, so you can use it as a superpower, not as a...
I hear you.
I think, you know, I know, you know, Castro, it really brings, and I know this is something I talk about all the time, is that remember, and even for us as fathers right now, remember our fathers are somewhere, and to know that they don't stop being a father just because they weren't there doing 0 to 18 does not mean that you can't learn and get the same fathering skills that you would have got from 0 to 18, from 18 to 56. You know, and I'm telling you, I'm an expert at this. I mean, I think that yes, my father I knew who he was. I had strong attachment to him, but not knowing him. But he has been the best guy for most of the things I've been going through as a man, being both a man, being a father of multiple children, and becoming a brand new father again. So when you able to have this conversation, yes, I see him first as a man, but then I also see him as my father. And it's beneficial because he still does father things, because I'm a loose cannon. He reminded me of something today. I was sending out some stuff and I didn't send it to somebody. He said, well, did you send one to so-and-so? And I said, no, they don't care. He said, well, son, let me tell you this. And when he does things like that, it's so important. He was saying, be the better person in every situation. Excellent. If they don't come, they don't come. But you would have did what you need to do. And then when it come back to you, say, look, you ain't show up. I don't give a hell, but I did invite you. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And those are the man gems that he gives me, even as a grown man today, being, hot. Intentionally, I'm way more educated, intelligent, all this supposed to be to him. But the game is that he has experiences as a man who lived in a world that didn't live in this world. And everything I go to, I can feel empowered from what he gonna say, but he also gonna hold me to an accountability. I can't just go there and whine and cry and he's like, well, what you gonna do about it then? And then that puts you back set where a lot of us don't know. And that's not a friend do that. That's what a father does. That's the important part of having these father skills. And so even a great example, like Castro said, that show, I haven't watched it yet, but I don't watch a lot. I read on the shows and then I watch them later. I'd seen that dynamic, and that's another show I plan to watch because of the father gaze that you can get to see within it's an important. It's just fantastic. Not only important part, but here's the great part about it. And this is something that we know. Kerry Washington has a son that she's raising as a single mother.
They touch on a subject called nigrescence. I'm saying it wrong, but it's the process of her assimilating. He's light-skinned, right? And them going to Alabama, going to her family roots and experiencing that. It's a super dope show, bro. It's very well. Yeah, it covers some very heavy dynamics of the familial makeup. And if you don't have, what I love about the Real's character, the dad, is he's got roots from home. He's got pain, he's got hurt, but there was some solid home foundations for him, right? That were like, it's survival of the fittest for him, because his mom had, you know, his trauma from childhood living in the 60s in Alabama, right? 50s. So what's beautiful, I think, for me is he still, you know, drug dealer, whatever he experienced in life, he has certain values that he always fell back on. And I think having core values is a very vital part of being a man, to be able to have characters, and I think that's the word, is a character integrity in how you move, and that's consistency.
Man.
Let me add this last thing, because I wanted to chime in on the question that Gaspar asked. How do you teach? There's two ways you can teach your daughters. It's to be the man they're supposed to marry, one, and then also talk to them about the man that they're supposed to marry. And when I say talk to them about the man they're supposed to marry, is build them up to have value for themselves. Because I think the one thing that Ron touched on earlier was, you know, being aware of who you are as a person, so you know what you need from someone who's going to be your partner. So those are the two ways you're going to be able to teach your kids, is modeling. One, be the person they're supposed to be when they find that other person. And secondly, talk to them about how they should be and the value of the person they should find. So those are two ways.
Good point, my brother. But one thing I've learned though, there's two parents that influence them.
Uh-huh.
And the key part is having both be on the same page, but unfortunately it's not always that way. Right. Especially those of us that are in you know, divorced or what you call it, Ron, non-consensual parenthood. Those of us that are in that situation are oftentimes raising, or not even raising because they're grown, but influencing them from different perspectives. So despite your perspective being what it may be based upon what you have been exposed to and experienced and what you're trying to teach, especially as a man to a daughter, she gets a lot of her exposure and experience and direction as well from the woman who she is a mini me of. You understand what I'm saying? So if that person doesn't have the same mindset, character, or attitude towards how relationships are, then you tend to end up having someone, right, that is constantly fighting against themselves to follow two different, because one has exposed them to certain things and you're trying to teach them about certain things. Are you guys getting where I'm coming from?
I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Gaspar, and I think that in there is where you start to impart life experiences. Because what happens is, and I agree with you, when you have the other parent and they're conflicting with you, right?
Correct.
I think what you can do is take examples and say, hey, how did that work out?
I got you.
You see what I'm saying? Because
you're right. you are so right. I mean, I'm telling you all this because listen, I'm telling you what I know based upon, and I use that phrase. That was the phrase. How did that work out for her? That was my point. And like my daughter would even say, because she was dating this guy for 5 years at FSU. She's now in DC. He's in Orlando getting his master's. Unfortunately, she's getting a hustle on. She's working in Congress. She's out networking. So they were constantly butting heads because she's not available for him the way she once was.
Mm-hmm.
They end up breaking up, which I felt honestly was the better situation because her livelihood may have led her to make some choices that would have impacted the relationship in a negative way.
Yeah.
So you'd rather end it as friends than end it because you did some foul stuff, right? So I was happy that she ended the relationship. 2 months later, she dated some dude, talking about he the one. I said, but you were just with a Negro. You told me was the one.
That happened
before. So hear what I'm saying. The part about that was an issue for me was me saying to her, you're not ready for that. And he was the dude that she talked about seemed to be a good dude. He knew who got a relationship with the Lord, came from 2-parent household, seemed like a good kid, getting his hustle on. I said, the devil know what you like. And she said to me, you call him the man Satan? I said, no, I ain't calling the devil. I said, the devil knows what you like. Because you just came out of a situation that distracted you from the goal of your career and you trying to do things, and you're now placing yourself back in this. She said her mama told her she shouldn't be dating the guy. Her come back to her mama was, well, how you can tell me that? Because you ain't know how to be by yourself either. That was her comeback to her mama.
Wow.
So here I am, again, what I'm sharing with y'all is here I am trying to tell my daughter she's not ready to be in a relationship. She needs to give herself time to be by herself. But her exposure, what she has seen, what she has been, is the meaning me, the bigger example, who hurt herself, that has not allowed herself to be out, by herself. So it's hard, and that's why I'm coming back to share with y'all. How do you then teach that? That's why I was coming from Gene about teaching all that you are, but because they're exposed to someone and they're the other party, how do you then get them to be better and different? That's why.
First of all, dude needs to, the dude that's in a relationship needs to know he's just a rebound.
Oh, he know that. He know that.
That's it. And I think secondly, with this situation, I think she's gonna come to that realization. Honestly, because again, if she's going for a ambition, but she hasn't, her experiences or what she's witnessed hasn't allowed her to say, I'm okay by myself. That's where it's gonna take some time. And I would say just continue talking to her. Be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
I would continue. I'd talk to her again.
There you go. Listen, exactly what Gene summed it up exactly. The biggest problem we have in most of the things we do is we only talk it in our own head. We don't have to hear ourselves say it out loud to somebody else and then respond to us about what we said. And when we say something out loud, I ride the bus a lot. So I'm busing, you got people just talking, just saying anything. Everybody got the earbud. Now I don't got no earbud. I'm listening to everything, paying attention. And when you listen to some of the stuff that people saying, they need to say it out loud because they want somebody else to hear, and they want somebody to comment, because if they keep this stuff in their mind, they're going to think they right about what they're saying, because the only person responding to them is themselves.
I got you.
So when they have to say out loud that I think I'm going to get married to this guy, and then you say get married, you might as well have got married to other buddy. Now they learn from this experience of this communication. You two guys, her narrative and your narrative begin to, pinpoint different places and put a real perspective on it to what she needs. Now imagine this. Imagine your daughter wasn't having any of these conversations.
Yeah.
And this is what's so important about the idea of us being able to have, your daughter's very in tune to be able to tell mom, listen, you're trying to tell me something, because women are good for telling each other. Kids are good for telling parents about what they done did. They're really good. But parents need to also have, that is your power to be able to tell your child, because you're saying, you're right, you're just like me. And guess what? I already experienced it. So what I'm saying to you is making sense. I know I did it already. And guess what? I'll probably do it again. But the job is not for me not to do it again. It's for my next generation, my legacy, not to make the same mistake you had to make. Because you shouldn't have to, because you can learn from me and what you don't have to do. You don't got to go to jail to find out jail bad. You could just take it from my word when you had to come and talk to me through the phone. You could get the point that it was bad. And I told you that, you know, that got shanked in here. Dude tried to come in my room, tell me to take my pants off. You know, I tell you all this as my son. You know very clearly, if I'm telling you this, you know that this is not somewhere you want to be. So do something else. Don't always have to bump your head to find out it hurt.
Amen to that.
Hey,
Amen.
my wife just came here doing the chant.
Gentlemen, I got to jump. Gentlemen, have a great evening.
Alana, what she say? She said when the chat comes.
So she gave me talking about I am.
Okay. Time to wrap it up, Rod.
With that being said, let us bring it to it was another interesting, very good conversation tonight. Hey, we welcome you to join us, like, share. If you want to continue this conversation, we will be continuing tomorrow night. Tomorrow's night conversation will center again on this, but we'll be talking about love, sex, and relationships because we already in that place. On our Zoom, you can always find it in the comment section below, down below. And we will be here tomorrow night. If not, join us next week for another episode of Fatherhood Talks. And fathers, repeat after me. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am.
a man of
courage.
I am.
I
am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am
a man of respect.
I say, fathers, I am.
I am.
And you are.
You are.
And we are.
We are.
Championship
Brothers.
That's right.
Welcome back, LJ. You must be wondering because your picture came up.
Hey man, I see y'all got something for me now. Now I gotta go back and do something different.
Man, thank you all again, my brothers.
Yes,
All right, you guys have a good night.
Yes, you do the same.
You too.